It is the Anfield Wrap. I'm Neil Atkinson, and I'm joined by Abi Rudkin, by Mike Kearney, Mo Stewart, and Rob Gutmann to get into Chelsea, but first and foremost, Trent Alexander-Arnold. But the Anfield Wrap is brought to you in association with Peloton, Liverpool's official digital fitness partner, and for the month of May to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Liverpool's 5th European Cup. It's sort of snuck up, that hasn't it, Mo? The 20th anniversary, in terms of the fact that it's also the 20th anniversary is the day we lift the league title.
So it's funny because I remember looking at the fixture list when they saw when the last day of the season was. And I was like, 25th of May. Why does that ring a bell? Why does that ring a bell? And then suddenly it was just like, oh. And then when we realised we were going to do that double dip, they should absolutely bring the European Cup out of the museum, by the way, and put it right around the pitch one more time.
If that's
get a rapper out there.
I like the idea that somewhere like Diogo Jota's confused.
Did we? No. But it's. I mean, if 25th of May was always going to be a special day in Liverpool memory, now it's going to be even the best day of the year. Like, fuck off Christmas.
There we are. So to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Liverpool's 5th European Cup, we're looking to collectively travel the distance from Anfield to Istanbul. Any physical activity to get there will count. As long as you download the Peloton app and join the Anfield Wrap team, I've done this. You can join. As we are across land and sea, you can use your Peloton machine to cycle, row, tread, or even do an outdoor walk or run, as long as you log any external activity on the app. It all counts, which is good news. There are even several LFC-themed classes on the app to further power you along. We started on the 1st of May, and so far 22 of us, including me. John has written here for me to say, but it does include me. I have done it. I've done a couple of classes, and I'm going to do another one today. And John have travelled 500 miles, which we think puts us somewhere in northern France.
Can I just ask a question? It's like a virtual journey.
It's
like GTA, but nicer.
So I did Chile last week.
And you went through Chile?
I cycled through Chile last week.
Can you just like visit places on the way?
Yeah. And you can, and on the coast, and it was right-hand drive. We had to watch ourselves a couple of times. But no, so I did Chile. I did a class and I did Chile. Sorry?
Hazards, bandits on the road.
That sort of thing, yeah. So no, I did Chile.
Wow.
And it was nice. It was very, very peaceful as I cycled through Chile and did that.
On your way to Istanbul?
Well, on the way to Istanbul. It's a bit of a detour, but no, it's nice. I enjoyed it. So, yeah, we think we're somewhere in northern France at the minute. Maybe I'll try and match it up as much as possible. But there's a long way to go, so the more of you that join, the better. Peloton are kindly donating a signed shirt from the LFC women's team to one participant to be given at random. Any issues, finding the team on the app, message John, and don't forget there's a group on Telegram where we share tips, encourage each other, and plan live classes to do together. Message John for the link to that as well. But yes, I've done it. I will be doing it again this evening. I brought me kit in. It is an act of bringing me kit in, and that's the way it works. Also want to mention, and we'll come back to, we are partnering with the charity Open Door until the end of the season. We've had featured them recently, but I'll talk more about it in a little while, because I want to talk about Trent Alexander-Arnold. Abi confirming what we all knew, that he was likely to leave at the end of the season, and he's clarified that he is definitely leaving at the end of the season. Let's break it down quite thoroughly through the show. His stated reason is a challenge, a new challenge, a fresh challenge, a personal challenge. What are your thoughts?
Said he wanted to leave his comfort zone, which I sort of take a bit of offence to. I feel like any season when you play for Liverpool is a challenge, no matter whether you're going for the same trophies that you've already played for before. Every single season's different. The Premier League's the best league in the world. I don't care what you say about La Liga. Literally, the Premier League is the hardest league in the world, the most challenging. What do you mean you want to leave your comfort zone and you want a new challenge? I'm very angry on this one. I'm one of those people that are quite angry to the point where it's like, I don't know. Not that I'm not wishing him well. It's just the fact that I just feel really uneased about the whole thing, and I don't want to send him off in a good style, because I feel that sets a precedent then for the future to be like, right, yeah, well, we'll let you go in a nice way, so anyone can come along and just decide to leave us on a free after being a local lad in the city. I feel like we need to put our stamp on this one and say, no, we're not happy with that. We painted your mural on the wall and we absolutely adored you, and you told us you wanted to be the next Steven Gerrard and you wanted to be the captain of Liverpool and you wanted to finish your career at Liverpool, and now you're telling us that you want a new challenge. And I understand people's dreams do change, and he might be able to say, yeah, I've completed that dream that I had, I've done all of those things, I've won everything. But at the same time, like I've just said, every season's a new challenge, and if you have the capability, like Carragher said, if you have the capability to help Liverpool go and win the 21st title, to help Liverpool go and win another European Cup as a local lad, you should want to use your ability as a world-class player for Liverpool Football Club.
So Liverpool won the league. That was great, wasn't it? Oh, what a week that was. Yeah.
Another week's still ongoing. I think this is important. I think you can think we can all think more than one thing at once. I'm delighted Liverpool have won the league. I'm also I think language here is important. I think and I think so far, and it's got to continue is what I would say. I think there has been at least a little bit of clarity in terms of what Trent's saying. There's personal challenge, fresh challenge, new challenge, tougher challenge. I don't think La Liga with Real Madrid and everything else that goes on there is necessarily in a sporting sense a tougher challenge than the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 7th, 8th, 9th, etc. with Liverpool. But there can be a personal challenge. There can be a personal, fresh challenge. There can be the idea that that is, and this is where the language does matter. A fresh challenge is different in this context to a tough challenge, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, language is an interesting way to put it because obviously he's going to have to learn Spanish. So
I bet he's been learning.
Yeah, no, to be fair, he'd have to be.
But
learning.
he's okay by now.
So, yeah, I do think you're right in terms of how he says it makes a difference. And considering how long it's taken him to say anything, I would have expected him to be literally poring over every single word he says in public because he knows it's going to be pulled apart. I absolutely agree with Abi on the point about the comfort zone. It does reflect badly on him, the fact that he felt like he's in his comfort zone right now, because it tells me that he's not really been able to be at his sharpest all the time. And this is something that Slot said. Like when he said he can be a great player when he puts his mind to it. Like he's literally saying he doesn't always put his mind to it. He doesn't always bring his best to every single game. And in his mind, he might be like, well, I've done this before. I've been to Leicester before. I've been to Burnley before. And it's like, yeah, but that's the job of a professional footballer. You go to those places every year and you have to be good every year because the one year you go there and you're not good, you get beat. Like, we had trouble beating the teams who were miles behind everybody in the league, who's 20th, 19th, well, maybe not at 19th, we beat Ipswich times quite easily. But Southampton gave us trouble. Leicester gave us trouble. Wolves gave us trouble. West Ham gave us trouble. They're all in the bottom five. Like, you've got to be on it every single week. And if you're not, I mean, that says more about you than anything else. You're right to say that that's probably not going to be the same in Spain. He's probably going to have a lot more games where he can take time off. But I always think about, right, Liverpool in the last 5 years have been very, very, very good and just been that far away. Been the unlucky underdogs, the plucky, we played really well, but we didn't win the chip. And what's happened in those 5 years? Well, 2 of the times, Real Madrid have taken the chip off of us. Real Madrid have found ways to win when they have no business winning. So they're winning when they don't deserve it, whereas we're losing when we do deserve it. And he's seeing it. And there must be a part of his mind where it's just like, God, I want to be on the easy team for a change. Like I understand that emotion. He's not going to come out and say that, though. But I believe that there's part of that in there.
That's a key thing. He's not going to come out and say that, though. And this is where I've processed Trent was leaving us for some time. I didn't believe there was any last-minute redemption possible. So in a sense, what he spoke about yesterday, came out with, I don't really care. I don't believe it to be sincere, quite frankly. I never expected it to be sincere. Because to my mind, for all the reasons that Abi and you and I think a lot of people have said, this isn't a comfort zone issue. I mean, and we can go through the semantics of did he mean it personally, did he mean it professionally, whatever. Did he mean it philosophically? Clearly, the appeal of Real Madrid, because they could have had a shocking season and finished 8th or whatever, or they could have, I don't know, or they could have won the last 10 La Ligas and there'd be total comfort. He's going because it's more glamorous. Because Real Madrid is more glamorous, you're likely to end up on the box of the next edition of FIFA if you play for Real Madrid. The giveaway interview he gave with Harriet, where he started talking about Ballon d'Ors, which, you know, we can argue that he's less likely to win at Madrid because their forwards all win it, but he was thinking of himself, his name up in lights. That's how he was thinking of it. And that's quite vain, vacuous even, but you know what, it's human. But
before I bring Mike in, isn't that also taking yourself out of your comfort zone? Like the idea that you've decided that you want, no, but I think this is, and also we're trying to get into the mind of someone who's made a decision here, if you see what I mean. Like in his mind, is it almost, and again, I disagree with this, but I just merely want to say, if I can make it there, I can make it anywhere. New York.
Yeah.
You know, is there genuinely an element here of you play Carnegie Hall twice, etc. All this sort of dynamic that you're describing.
Yeah.
He could well say, well, I could be part of a really strong team unit at Liverpool year in year out and achieve loads and loads of things. But what I want, the challenge that I want, is to go to the place where you've got to be a certain way. You've got, to go and put my name in lights. To your point, isn't that a valid sentence?
To a degree, yes. I mean, but that's if you're some, I'll use the expression, some hick of a farm boy who's got the chance to go and perform in Radio City Music Hall. Not Liverpool Football Club, who, we've seen the stats that after our title win, it's the most engagements, however it's measured, of any football club in the world ever. I would argue, if you're talking about measuring real support, properly watching every game support, we've probably got the most fans in the bloody world, right? We are champions of the hardest league to win. It's, as I said, if you're moving from Radio City Music Hall to Carnegie Hall and trying to find some distinction, then maybe, right? That would be the argument. But my main problem at the moment, in this moment, isn't really with what Trent comes out with or says, because he was never going to get away with justifying leaving his hometown club. He's made his brand out of being our Trent and the Scouser in our team, and then going, fancy something a bit more glamorous and warmer and whatever. He was never going to convince us that it was anything other than those kind of motivations. Where I'm irked, and I maybe shouldn't have gone off on one on social media, but I have, so I'm going to go off on one here, is the cover being provided for him. And I can point a finger in a wide range of directions. I think a range of journalists have decided that they think they are entitled to say, hey, anyone's got a right to pursue their dreams. Anyone's got a right to go challenge themselves. Let's not even get into the banter merchants across other fan bases who just want to go, oh, you're crying because he's gone to Real Madrid. I'm not interested in their opinions, even the ones who are posing that they've got a reasonableist viewpoint, or the Rio Ferdinands and the Gary Nevilles and those guys, etc., because they haven't walked our walk. And I said it on a tweet yesterday, the only one who has walked our walk, who's closest, who's actually in a professional capacity in football, is Trent Alexander-Arnold, ironically. I think he knows damn well how this cuts, how this hurts. Are we entitled to feel that hurt? Yeah, we are. We're entitled to feel that hurt, and nobody else is. Let's put it this way: but nobody else is entitled to comment on it. So
is this you? Are you throwing a gauntlet down to Dan Walker?
Who's Dan Walker? Oh, the fella. Yeah, that fella.
I like it. I'm into it. Dan Walker, he's had it all his own way for too long, Dan Walker.
I don't want to name names because I'm probably going to end up naming names of people I like, and I'm going to have to sit in front of a microphone with a cross here. Everyone's got their feeling in the moment. So I'm saying it to them as I would say it across a pub table to them with a pint, going, no, mate, you're wrong there. And for the reasons I've just expounded, you may think that. And also, quite frankly, a lot of people in the media, or even ex-Liverpool players, again, to emphasise this, they haven't walked the fan walk, or if they did, they've a long time since removed from that feeling. You can't bounce around in front of the Kop last week and experience the greatest feeling or the greatest set of sensations a player can expect to, or relationship a player can expect to have with fans one week, and then go, I fancy a new challenge, and expect us to take that credibly or on face value.
That's the heart of it for me, to be honest. That's the complete heart of it for me, as a local lad, as he'd like to say himself, who wants to grow up and play for Liverpool, as much as he'll probably say in his Real Madrid unveiling that it's always been a dream of mine since I was 5, before he even started his career at Liverpool. The whole heart of it for me is footballers are very, very well rewarded. Not a problem to worry about them in life. So all the dreams coming true for your boyhood city, for your boyhood club, the one that you may captain, that Sunday will live in the memory of absolutely every single person who was there, every single person who watched it, all around the world. And he could be the one on the next day it happens to be the captain, to be the heart and soul of it, to be its leader, to be its the catalyst to make it happen on the day. And he doesn't want that, because that's what Leaving says. Whether he wants to leave and be this brand, as has been hinted at so far, and he's probably deep down a large part of it. whether he wants to leave for the Ballon d'Or, or what, if that's an ambition for him, you know, no one can stop him from doing that. But when you've been all your life saying, you know, it means more to us than the next club or Y club or whatever, and I'd rather win a trophy here, is essentially what he said, compared to 4 or 5 on the bounce for City. We've won 2 Premier Leagues. He said it means more to them, to us as fans. It means more to him as a player. Surely, you know, the be-all and end-all of being Liverpool Football Club's possibly greatest ever player, by the way, if he stayed and doubled his like trophy haul, maybe even put 5 or 6 Premier League titles and on his record, is that bigger than being Gucci's brand face? You know, is that bigger than 4 or 5?
Picture of you and your bills on a billboard in Madrid.
But so what? Is 5 Premier League titles worth more than 6 or 7 La Ligas? In my eyes, yeah. I'd say 3 Premier League titles at Liverpool Football Club would be worth more than whatever you win a Champions League. We've won 1. We've been in 3 finals. You know, Mo mentions it. Real Madrid pipped us 2-1. They've pipped us a couple of times and stuff. And he's Trent himself, by the way, in November, not long after he gave that interview to Harriet, after that week we had where we beat Real Madrid and Man City 2-0, then refers to Manchester City and Real Madrid as rivals in terms of stopping us winning what we want to win. And then you walk out the door and sort of expect it to just be sound, even though he's admitted that, look, people can feel the way they want to feel.
I don't think he expected it to be sound.
No, but
he does say you're allowed to be upset at me and all.
I think he knows it's going to happen either way.
But the main thing is, like, maybe not expecting it to be sound is probably the wrong choice of words there. Maybe this sort of wanting to be wished well and thought well of. Like there'd be a question mark about his status at Liverpool Football Club years after he stopped finished playing now, and I don't think he might ever play for us again. He may do, who knows. The road is long in a football career, and just because something's happened now doesn't mean him coming back might not happen. It might, who knows. But from where we are now and for where I am anyway, is wanting to watch us and watch the best players play for us and win things. He is one of them, and he's not wanting to do that next season. For whatever reason he wants to chalk it up as or smooth it over as, then it doesn't interest me. You know, we can win these things here. You can be the Liverpool Callahan. You can be the Phil Thompson. I think Phil Thompson won 7 league titles for Liverpool, 6 or 7.
Phil Neal is Liverpool's most decorated player. I think Thompson ends up with 7. Yeah, I think Phil Neal's got 9, or maybe I need to double check that. Go on.
So it's that for me, as that lad who wants to play for Liverpool, and all you've ever wanted to do. Drive to be that, and if that's not what you want to do and you want to go to Real Madrid, sound, but let's not have any apologies. Sorry, Mo. Like I don't want in 20 years' time and say, I wish I'd have stayed and won 1 more with the Premier League title with Liverpool. You fucking could have done.
But there's we'll come back onto you on that, Mike, before I bring Mo in. But there's a chance that is what's going to happen, and I don't mean that. What I mean is, like, I'll ask you: is it all right if he's not sure? Do you know what I mean? Like, is it all right if if we really want to do this and get into delve into the mentality of it, Mike? Is it all right if even now he's still somewhere in the back of his mind thinking, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing here? Is it all right if he's not sure? Because I think we either decide we want to give them some humanity or we don't. So there's a chance that it's all gone yesterday, and wherever they are on the planet now, because I think they might all be away together or whatever's going on, there's a chance that somewhere still chance like, I've decided I'm doing this. I sort of came to a bit of a conclusion around it a few months back. I'm not that sure, but I'm going to make the best of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that'd be a really human response.
Yeah. I mean, that is of course, that's a human response. Of course, he's entitled to be that way and have that feeling of I'm not sure, but you're sure enough. And you are sure enough to have already made that decision. So as much as you may not be sure completely 100%, you were sure enough to walk away from what was potentially, to
start the process.
Yeah. I think that there was, in terms of that, him being unsure in terms of the process, there's so much more to it. It's almost like once you're in this kind of big avalanche ball going down a hill, it's hard to then stop and start going back up the hill again. Because, I mean, we have to be honest, it's not just him who's going to be moving. There's obviously, it's his brother who's involved in it. There's lots of other people who are involved in this. And he probably is going to be thinking about them in all of this as well. And even if he does have doubts, it's like, well, I mean, how is then thinking about how hard it would be to then extrapolate himself from this Avalanche.
Yeah, there's the World War One AJP Taylor train timetable metaphor here that I think is actually quite opposite. I think you've got a bit of a thing where we can talk about what last weekend may or may not have meant to him. He might have been sat on the pitch thinking, oh, fucking hell. Yeah. But it's going to be hard. We've got a fair few phone calls to make to turn this round around.
Because this is the other thing about it, is that I think a lot of us are convinced, or at least slightly suspicious, the fact that this has been in the works for a while. Some people say this has been in the works since the last time he signed his deal in 4 years and 6 years.
I don't quite buy that theory, but go on.
Yeah, no, I know that there are lots of people who think that. But if you think maybe 2 years ago is when Real Madrid first started trying to float this around, like it would have been easier to him to believe that he's never going to win another Premier League 2 years ago. Because think about what was happening 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago was when the midfield had fallen apart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So. And I get what Mike's saying about the idea about he could come here, he could win 5 Premier Leagues, he could win loads of things, he could become a legend. But like, as I just said, they've been good enough to win loads, and they've won 2. Like, there's nothing to say that there's nothing to say that they're not going to be unlucky again. They are losing out to the Death Star of Man City, whereas he wants to be part of the Death Star. That's the difference.
Yeah, but we didn't think that was the person that he was going to be, and that's not the brand that he portrayed himself to all of us Liverpool fans. He never put that forward to us, that's what he wanted to do. He always pushed the this means more thing. He was one of them, his constant narrative about wanting to be the next Gerrard just stays in my brain of, you convinced all of us and built this brand to all us Liverpool fans that that's who you are. And I do believe he's been planning this for a long time. I think ever since he signed a contract that was shorter than everyone else's at the time when they were extending, I just think for this whole season, if you look back at the moments that we've had from Trent this season, trying to kiss the camera at Old Trafford, cup in his ear, which turns out to be at the Liverpool fans, by the way. This whole time I've been thinking when he cupped his ear, maybe it was at the media for spinning a lie about him. No, it wasn't. He was doing that at us, talking about him, about his move, and there's so many other moments like that, whipping his shirt off. I think obviously by Leicester, he knew at that point that he was going to go. But there's so many moments from this year, avoiding doing interviews, by the way. He wouldn't do any interviews. The likes of Virgil and Mo were stopping in the mix zone and discussing their contracts because they knew they were going to stay, and they wanted to sort of, I think Mo in the mix zone a lot was trying to push the thing of, I'm more out than in, because he wanted to get what he wanted. Yeah. You know what I mean? We knew he was going to stay. But Trent hasn't done that. Trent has built this thing this season of, right, I'm going to leave in style. I'm going to kiss the camera at Old Trafford. I'm going to whip my shirt off at Leicester. All these things are going to happen. I'm not going to talk to the media. I'm going to walk away in this sort of, casual, but I'm so cool style. That's just the perspective that he's put on me. And especially cupping his ear, it's just half offensive, to be honest. As a Liverpool fan, it feels like a little bit of a smack in the face.
He used the word in a couple of those interviews, one he done from his own people and one with Liverpool, about his love for the fans. So he's talking about it as a relationship. And it's a relationship he's walked away from. Now, whatever the merits are, and I don't want to sort of, overly sort of, I don't want to get into trite parallels there. So if you're in the family and you walk away from the family, look, it might be that the next relationship he's walking into with Real Madrid and their fans is better for him. It might be. History might come to prove that.
Well,
but we're entitled to be wounded beyond belief by the fact that he's chosen to walk away from our relationship. To
sort of marry Mo's points and something that was nagging at me whilst Mike was talking.
Yeah.
Rob, if you wanted to have that conversation, I wrote down as Mike was talking, is it too big? Like, what Mike is effectively talking about is...
What too big?
The idea of driving / captaining / pushing Liverpool towards another X number of... is there
too big a responsibility?
Almost like I can go and be a footballer somewhere else and try and be the best footballer I can possibly be. Or this slightly fucking mad thing, which sweeps everyone up in its path, I've got to try and guide this and be part of it. When Mike... Just throwing that out there, and to your point there when you're saying, if you do want to sort of cast it as a relationship, is there some sort of... is there a thing where he's thought, well, you know what I could go and be? I could just try and go and be the best footballer / right back I possibly can be. See if something else comes of it, and I haven't got to worry about all this mad stuff that you'd have to worry about if you stay there.
Well, he might be right. We believe that our love is the greatest love of all, right? I'm quoting cheesy songs and what have you. We believe that. And we believe there for him to see that there's a better love is a betrayal. We don't have to like it. He may prove for him that this is the best thing that could happen. Look, there's a part of me that go, I can't imagine how much fun it would be to know you're going to Madrid, and where, quite frankly, a lot of the football will be easier, and you're going to have a lot less games where you're getting torn a new one by some tricky Premier League winger and his overlapping left back. I can imagine, sitting in your villa in the hills in a big pool, as we've said, being on a billboard.
Watching Conor Bradley get legged everywhere.
Watching Conor Bradley getting legged. Going to nightclubs with Jude Bellingham wearing flimsy white clothing and paparazzi taking pictures of you all the time, and supermodels being everywhere. Because that's what's in
that does sound like fun.
It does sound great, doesn't it? It sounds great. And you'll get used to this exciting new food called tapas, which you'll have never tasted before. So, I mean, the new challenges...
What size plates?
Yeah, how small, but there's so many of them. It's... So we'll never know, but we are entitled to feel the way we feel about this. And at the end of the day, we're going to calm down. And again, we've said all along, let's stop telling each other how to think whilst telling each other how to think. It's unavoidable. My hope is that we quickly man and woman up about this, move on, start talking about new right backs, and ignore Trent, and just quietly wish him a very poor career in Madrid.
There is, as you work through it, Mo, Rob sort of hooked us in there a little bit. There is a mild contradiction in this. A, being angry, and B, thinking we're great and we're going to be fine. But that is, I think, a reasonable place to land. At the same time, you can say it's a contradiction as much as you want, but that is a reasonable place to land, is that, the thing to say all the time is bigger and better people have left Liverpool and Liverpool have been absolutely fine.
Yeah.
That's the case for every football club. Bigger and better people have left every football club on the planet, and guess what? Most of those football clubs have always gone on to be absolutely fine. So it's worth bearing that in mind. The fact that I think we can win everything again suggests we don't need him. I think one of the most base elements of it for me is I just really like watching him play.
Yeah.
And the fact that I'm not going to get to watch him play anymore is almost for me one of the most crippling aspects, because I just love where I sit in the ground, seeing him just throw his right foot out and something remarkable happening.
It's funny because it is a very different experience, because we're going to still watch him play, but we're just not going to enjoy it anymore. It's going to be a very, very different
I very rarely watch Madrid, to be honest. I might watch them occasionally in Europe. I mean, to be clear, that on the whole wishing them well thing, I don't want Real Madrid to win a goldfish at a tombola at a fair. So
I'm with you on that.
So it becomes there. I might occasionally get to see him play in Europe, but the wishing him well, and I'm not at this point even, but the nearest I can get to is I would like him to be man of the match in every defeat. And I would like those defeats to come thick and fast, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, by the way, we are absolutely nailed on to draw Real Madrid in the Champions League next year. By the way, I'm just telling everybody.
As long as that's at Anfield,
we all need to prepare for that right now. But the bit you said at the beginning about everybody moves on, nobody's bigger than the club. This is kind of where I've been at this whole time. Like, I understand everybody else's feelings, but I'm just a little bit more circumspect about the whole thing. I'm like, I was expecting it, but also I'm just a bit like, I'm not really going to waste my energy on it. Like, I think the future is actually more exciting for a number of reasons. One, he was a great footballer, but there were lots of caveats and lots of concessions we as a team had to make in order to make him a great footballer.
And other teams have won games and trophies without him at right back or someone who's like him.
And there was lots of good teams and tough games where the opponent manager's tactics was, we need to try and target him. And we don't have him anymore. So there's going to be ways in which we could be better without him. I think you can see that. It's obviously not going to be easy, but I just think that all of the reasons as to why he decided to leave, those are reasons. And yeah, like Rob says, it's really hard to say, we're not going to tell each other how to feel, because by saying how you feel, it almost feels like implicitly you're saying, well, I feel this way, you feel this way, and you're wrong. But this is something that I've been thinking about a lot recently. The nature of debate and disagreement has fundamentally changed so much recently. Again, without wanting to get all political on it, I do think the whole Trump and Brexit thing has changed how we think about these things, because so many of these debates and disagreements
Without wanting to get political.
So many of these debates and disagreements have been like, well, if you're on the wrong side of this, then people will die. So I don't respect you if you don't agree with me on this. This isn't one of those debates.
No.
I could disagree with you
You're
all
absolutely
and
right,
still believe that you are fundamentally good people and I still love you.
Yeah.
Even Dan Walker.
Well, I mean,
Wherever he may be.
Yeah, to be honest, he went to Channel. I was more upset with him going to Channel 5.
Yeah, he's a nice fellow, the big man. Go on.
But the point I'm trying to get to is that football moves on is where I'm trying to be. I'm trying to more concentrate my energy on how we look differently, how we move forward from here. And I think that there's a few exciting potential moves that we can do either in the transfer market or from within the squad so we'll actually get to September, October next season and we're flying and we're suddenly thinking, what was all that about?
I think it's important, Abby. I think football can't just only be a prism through which you communicate anger. And I think also there's games of football to be played and won. There's 38 of them next season unless something markedly changes in the league. And, you know, they will happen and Liverpool will play them, and they will play them without Trent Alexander-Arnold. But that's all right. Liverpool played tons of games without him before he was a Liverpool player. They will come in the future. I think there's perpetuating anger and being angry are two different things, if you see what I mean. I genuinely think this is one of those situations where 100% the best revenge is living well, and Liverpool planning to live well sort of starts today, as far as I'm concerned.
Better players have left Liverpool than Trent Alexander-Arnold, and that's the top and bottom of it. I know he feels like the be-all and end-all right now, especially when we've just won the title and you're just thinking of every single key element of this team and how he's been a part of it and how does life go on without him. But, you know, you only have to look to the bench at Conor Bradley and see his quality there. I think he was probably a bright spark against Chelsea. I think he's one of those players that he suits Slot's style of football more anyway. I honestly think that he's a little bit more defensive in the way that he plays. I think Trent is obviously an exciting footballer and he has great quality going forward and things like that, but he does get absolutely done every other week. And, you know, like you've just said, there's so many games to play next season and there's so much excitement to have around that. And, you know, we're still capable of winning trophies without him. I feel like because Slot hasn't been backed last transfer window, we only get Chiesa. I feel like there's going to be money there for him to spend. And, you know, you've got Trent's wage bill off for that there. So you never know who you can go and get. You know, there's rumours for Frimpong and things like that. You need to go and get probably another left back. You know, there's so many possibilities there of how Slot can work with this team. And obviously we're not one of those teams going to the Club World Cup. We're going to be able to just sort of have a nice pre-season, sort of let Slot rebuild things and decide what he wants to do. I think we're in a lucky position that we've just gone and won the league and we can probably still improve by 5 or 6 more players in that team. And, you know, I feel I am sad about it, but I know life goes on, and yes, I am angry, and I know I've sounded really angry about it, but at the end of the day, I will move on. Where he's going to be there on that bus parade, and I'm still going to be there celebrating. He's going to be lifting the trophy. He's going to be walking around the ground, and I'm still going to be absolutely elated with that. So I'm not going to be turning me back to him in the ground or anything silly like that. But at the end of the day, life goes on, and you know, Liverpool will rise again without him.
What's been, I think, this season, Mike, I think in general he's been just less important to the setup. I think that because of how the manager's chosen to I don't think he's chosen that around some sort of sense that he might not be there. I think it's just the way in which the manager's preferred to play. And I think I think that's also helped him with his defensive solidity a little bit. Apart from one thing, when we've needed him. And I think that to me is the sole concern. You know, he's great coming off the bench against Newcastle. He puts it on a plate for Nunez against Brentford. I felt he was really coming to the fore against Paris Saint-Germain just before he went off injured. You know, I think there's been a few instances where you've needed a little bit of something special from somewhere, and he has provided it this season. Leicester in the end as well. Yeah, you know, I think that Mike, you know, that's my thing in the back of my mind here, is that I can think two things at once on this as well. You know, he's been less important this season, but apart from when we've needed him, but then maybe it's an opportunity for someone else to step up.
Yeah, I think that plays into the sort of the feelings of why we are where we are with this whole thing. Like, footballers, there's loads of them. is there that many special footballers at the ability that we know he's got? There's definitely a lot of them, but it's harder to find them, if you get me. And look, it may come from somewhere else. We may be talking just out of the blue somewhere in a couple of weeks that we sign a midfielder, maybe, I don't know, throw a name out, Javi Simons, and he turns out to be this mad creative all-round machine that we've wanted, and what, right back getting assists? What are you on about? We do it this way now. Maybe that happens. Who knows? We don't know. But you're right. Like it is a case of it's watching us play fullback since Klopp came in for the last maybe 10 years has been such a mad thing. 17, 18, I think really. The Robertson and Trent were bombing on like mad. There was times where Trent Alexander-Arnold's heat maps were Kevin De Bruyne's heat maps, and he was playing centre forward. It was like centre mid, attacking midfield for Man City, and the other one was playing right back for Liverpool. And then it changed a bit, didn't it? Where they were more tucking into midfield a bit more. Now it's sort of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, and not necessarily the midfield thing with slots fullbacks. I don't know. Maybe we sign someone who goes back to that more sort of flying foot style right back. Maybe we don't. I don't think we're heading that way. I do think we will sign other players and sort of hope that we'll get that creative and talismanic, because it has been talismanic at times. You referencing Trent's games there and sort of things he's done.
And many more than that. Leicester in 2019, for instance, on Boxing Day.
Yeah, hugely. That's. If we can find other ways to get that out of the team, and I think we will. Ultimately, I think we will. Then yeah, it's going to be fine.
Let's be right. When we've lost big names in the past, Luis Suarez, Fernando Torres, the near miss with Steven Gerrard, even Raheem Sterling, and at the point he leaves, Phil Coutinho. At each juncture, we were losing the best player in the team. Near as damn it. Steve McManaman, let's even go further back. Maybe Michael Owen. Well, actually, probably not at that point.
No.
But Trent, he's quite a lot down the list of best Liverpool players based on the evidence of the title-winning season. I mean, if you want to win the league next season, it's much more important we kept Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah. Yeah. They've both been better than Trent Alexander-Arnold this season, and that's not to decry Trent Alexander-Arnold. They've just been better. So's Ryan Gravenberch over the course of the season. And the games we've had Alisson, so's Alisson Becker. I could make a case. McAllister. We could keep going, quite frankly. Trent is not one of Liverpool's most important players in the here and now. I think if you look at it, and that, look, if anyone clips this, I know I'd be slaughtering. They're saying he's shit now, he's gone. No, he's not. No, he's not shit. But those of us who've watched him, and obviously when he was our boy, and he's not our boy anymore, you want to only focus on the positives. And in fact, you want to be defensive about the negatives. That's what our job is to do. You're part of our tribe, that's what we'll do. And even in the house, we will keep positive in that sense. Now we can let loose. Now we can let loose, Trent. Do you want to hear how it is? You were shit at defending. We've all known it. We pretended we couldn't. Yeah, rubbish at defending. You're one of the best players on the ball I've ever seen in a Liverpool shirt, but you're not. No, I'm obviously exaggerating and joking. He wasn't a great Liverpool defender. He was a great Liverpool player on the ball. Very, very strange forward. But look, this isn't the point. It's not about sour grapes, blah, blah, blah. It's about going forward. My central point was he is not going to be the biggest miss. It would have been a much bigger miss had we lost some of the other lads I've just mentioned. Certainly in the next 24 months, which is all that I care about, quite frankly. I want to win another league here and now. I'm not interested in winning one in 5 years' time because Trent might have stayed.
In the long run, we're all dead.
In the long run, Neil, we're very much all dead. Although you never know with modern technology. I'm hoping to be cryogenically frozen and brought back in the year 2020.
I like the idea you get cryogenically frozen, but only to be then brought back solely for seasons. You know what I mean? So like the final game finishes, we cryogenically freeze you, we bring you back on the 9th of August.
Everton are actually champions at that point. It's a fucking nightmare. They'll put me back to sleep.
No. You've watched the seasons. You have basically what happens is that we basically give you 10 months of life for every 12.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that's just
which is the film Interstellar. It's a bit like Interstellar, but with football seasons.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's like the curtain raiser. The curtain raiser is no longer the community Shield. It's re-energizing Rob.
Yeah. It's bringing Rob out of stasis. That's the big one. Mo, you were saying before you're excited about new things. The one thing I would say is, having had only a little look around some numbers and some bits and pieces, my one note about right back is it's a pretty shit market.
Yeah.
I think it'll need a lot of brains to come up with something, and I wonder if it's going to end up with a bit of a repurposing.
I do. I think what Mike was saying before about we no longer looking at our right backs for creating loads of assists, I think that's right, which is why I'm slightly surprised that this Frimpong links continue, because I've always felt like he would have a lot of the same problems as we had when we were playing with Trent without the same solutions. He's a very different kind of footballer. We would still need to find creative elements elsewhere. Whereas I think the move to really do is to try and find a different way within the team to do that. So you've got two options. You can either say we want to bring in another really good right back and then have a creative midfielder alongside, or you want to say we want to bring in a solid right back who's going to be able to be there to support Connor, and we're going to give Connor our number one. Because as much as I agree with what Rob said in terms of where Trent came in the pantheon of players in the last season, the one thing he does do is he makes Salah better. And I think that
Conor Bradley makes Salah better too, I think.
To the same extent yet. Not to the same extent yet.
Well, not consistently anyway, because we haven't seen evidence.
But I think this whole wider sort of thing, though, to do the tactics of it, the idea of a creative midfielder is normally the most advanced of the midfielders. But our most advanced midfielder does a hell of a lot of Mo Salah's running for him.
He does.
And we've just given Mo Salah all the money.
Yeah.
So this is...
We're committed to Salah 2026 and
Mo Salah himself is now
at least.
Prepared enough to say in interviews, one of the things is I just do less running. I do less defending now. They've got that boxed off for me. Now, it might be a bit of a repurposing, but it is sort of, for me, this is where, not quite where it doesn't add up. I think it will add up. And as I say, I think it will be a repurposing. A little bit, it may well be that, for instance, McAllister is given a bit more creative freedom. It may well be that position's given a bit more creative freedom. It might be that, I think Gravenberch's had a really good season, but it might be that Liverpool wants someone who passes from deep. It might be that Liverpool think, well, that's the next stage of Gravenberch's evolution. I trust the coaching and I trust the process in terms of the off the pitch stuff. But it is just worth saying it does throw open questions in terms of how that side of the pitch will operate.
But I do agree with you as well. I do think that in terms of the creative output from Gravenberch and McAllister that we've had so far, can improve, can get better, can increase. Maybe the way to do that is for them to have less or more defensive help. So from the right back, for example, so you've got a more solid defensive right back who's got the energy to be able to do more Salah's running.
That's the biggest thing. And this is where I don't like I'm not a Frimpong fan, as we know over and over. We've had this conversation in different guises in that I just don't think he's been a right back. I think you can talk about if he comes in, you're repurposing him, is my thing.
Yeah, I agree.
But what I think, Mo, is I think what they might be looking for, and I think it's what Bradley offers, is pace and an engine, and that might be part of the solution. That someone who's got an absolute unbelievable level of pace and an unbelievable
explosive,
and an explosive, and also an engine, which means that just
they
doesn't
can get
stop.
up and down, up and down, up and down. I agree, and I think that you have to think about it in terms of balance as well. Because the cool thing about why Trent was so great, it was because obviously you had Robbo on the other side, and they were two very different kinds, but both threatening. So whoever we're getting to play on the other side, and I do think that we're all in agreement there's going to be someone else coming to play on the other side, then that maybe is where the compliment comes. Maybe the focus is becomes more on the left side to be someone who's got a bit more of a creative spark, and then you've got Bradley who can be the runner, and then you have back him up with someone else who can be that explosive.
The left back link we've mostly been done though is also a runner.
Yeah, I noticed that.
But I'm fine in that. I think there's one thing. But on this, Mike, I think one of the things I would genuinely say of this team, and I'd include Trent in it as a criticism, that this is a fantastic team. It's won the league. If you said to me one thing it lacks in the round, I would say pace. I would say if there's one thing that it's maybe just not got quite enough of, it is pace. And if Liverpool end up with a lot more pace from both full-back positions next season, there are worse things to have ended up with, if you see what I mean. And I think you got to see it against Chelsea. We're going to come on and talk about that game. My frustration with Tsimikas isn't any of the stuff that people think is taking the piss or being rude. It's just that he's literally not quick enough. He's literally not quick enough, and he's not been quick enough all the way through. And Robertson is slowing down a little bit. I think that's overstated. He's still quicker than Tsimikas. But if there's one thing the team lacks, Mike, it is pace. So this could be a way to address it.
100%, yeah. And if we do two full-backs, it doesn't necessarily mean that we will play both all the time.
Yeah.
Like you can play Bradley with a Robertson, or you'll play Bradley maybe with the new signing, or you'll play the new signing with maybe a new right back, or I don't know, maybe even a Diddle and Jones at right back. Maybe, who knows? Like, it's all to be unknown. But I think you're massively right in terms of what we need is pace, because pace opens games wide. Like you can counter-attack much. Obviously, it's the most obvious thing. Counter-attack quicker. Be on your halfway line 1 minute and down the side and in next. Whether that's from left back, centre midfield, or up front, we may go and do a number 9. That's just absolutely rapid out of nowhere, and all we need then is balls and ammunition into him and his feet, and it all depends on what the manager wants to do in terms of reworking the squad that he currently has with the funds and the players that we have available to possibly sign.
The manager reworking the squad, Abigail, the wage budget has obviously shifted a little bit because of Van Dijk and Salah, and it's been shifting for a while, but by not extending Trent, put that onus on them from there as well. We've been saying over and over it's a big summer. This is just further clarification that it's a big summer, but by the end of it, I would like to think you're pretty close to the makeup of squad, and especially first 11 that Arne Slot wants. I'd be really surprised if that isn't the case.
It's less of a big summer than I was fretting about before Mo and Virgil had signed their contracts, though, because there was a point where in my head I was like, oh no, this is starting to go really wrong, because it was just like they were going in the mix zone saying, think these things just don't seem to be happening. Virgil said, if someone's telling you that I've signed, they haven't got a clue because I haven't done anything. And that's when I started to threat a little bit. I started to have in my mind like you're going to have to replace a centre-back, and I do still think we need a centre-back. I think just by watching us against Chelsea, you can see that Quanta isn't good enough. I'm not saying that lad won't be capable one day, but he is not good enough to be a backup for Liverpool at the minute as it stands. I feel like you've got to replace there. Like we've said, I really, really want Kirkes at left back. There's something about him that just feels like a Liverpool player to me. Now you've obviously got to go and replace the right back as well. And like Mike's just said, we don't know how Liverpool are going to play next season. It might be completely different. We don't know how Slot... This is the real rebuild now. When Slot was coming in, we were thinking, right, hopefully the owners give him a lot of money. He can't just pick up Klopp's team and just try and work with it, which is exactly what he did, by the way, and he's done it absolutely amazing. But I think we're going to see a lot of people walk out the door as well. I think maybe Diaz might end up going to Barcelona. There's so many players that might walk away. Nunes... We need another number 9, and that changes the whole dynamic of everything as well. If you end up with Isak through the middle, imagine some of the balls that Salah has threaded through to Nunes that he's missed. Isak buries most of them. And can you imagine what sort of team we're building here? We're so lucky to be in a position where we've just won the title and we can have 5 new players next season, literally, to win the league. And I think Slot's probably going to be absolutely made up with that. You can't be upset that you need all these new players and Trent's left. You can actually see it as an exciting point going forward as a new manager.
I think it's interesting that Slot in the last couple of sort of responses to questions about the summer in transfers has said it's a big summer and it's already off to a flyer because we've signed Virgil and Mo. And I think that's the sort of thing that I think fans, and I'm probably guilty of it as well, intuitively think, oh, for God's sake, stop counting new contracts as signings. But I think what he's at, but if I calm down, I think what he's actually saying is that's 2 less jobs we have to do this summer. And that's your point, Abi, and it's sort of dawning on me properly now. That's important because if those 2 hadn't signed and Trent had gone, wouldn't just have to be, it'd been a big summer, but Jesus Christ, you'd have to get so much right. Whereas now we're in the luxurious position of going, it's a title-winning team. I don't think we're going to lose Diaz. I think we're on the fringe of, yes, it'd be lovely to get a great striker. Great to get a great left-back. We probably need a right-back. A better centre-back cover than Quance would be good. But I think we said recently, Liverpool don't expect to make 5 or 6 they make 2 or 3, maybe somewhere in between the truth lies. I think we're under a lot less pressure now, and we need to remember that. The Mo and Virgil things were crucial, and they are clinching them and gaining all the goodwill and kudos from the title. These are the important things, not our right-back leaving.
Winning the league as well, and the manager being actually quality in the end, because people were probably thinking, Jurgen Klopp's left, I don't want to go and play for Liverpool, who knows what this new manager is going to be like, will he be successful, do I want to play for him? We've just went and won the title.
League's best manager, proven, end of.
There we go.
All right, so I want to do something on Chelsea before then. I mentioned at the top that we are partnered with Open Door from a charitable point of view. That sounds all very formal for the next 4 weeks or so. They're a fantastic organisation. It's a unique setup and environment. It's exactly the sort of charity that we're particularly delighted to partner with, right in the heart of the community in Birkenhead, and the representative of that whole community and of the city region itself. So, you know, it leads the way in innovation around mental health-based charities and treatments. So do check them out. If you text TRANSFORM to 70480, then you automatically donate £10. If not, you can just go to opendoorcharity.co.uk/donate. I think if not, you'll work it out. You're smart people. You'll be absolutely fine. You'll go from there, and that'll be all right as well, to donate to Open Door. Also, the Red Weekender that we are part of, we'll be on the Saturday night. Tickets are beginning to become a little bit scarce. I mean, that's one aspect of it. Another one is I've got no idea what we're doing. So, you know, don't get carried away. I'll manage your expectations accordingly, but hopefully by the end of the week or by the start of next week I might have some sort of sense of what it is that we're doing. And you can subscribe to the Anfield Wrap for this remarkably exciting summer. See through the rest of the season if you go to theanfieldwrap.com/subscribe, or if you've got the app you can do it within there as well. That would all be excellent
One
stuff.
thing I'd say about the Red Weekender, there's been plenty of times where you've said to me days, hours before an event, I have no idea what we're going to do, and it's been fantastic. So don't worry, people. He's going to get it together.
This guy.
Mo's got more faith in me than I have at this point in time, but we will work it out. We will get there. I want to talk about the game against Chelsea, Mo, just briefly, in terms of what should be taken away from it. For me, with all these remaining games, with maybe the possible exception of if he does something tactically interesting, or if maybe the Arsenal game, I'm really reluctant to conclude anything negative, is where I've sort of decided, because you don't know how much work they've been doing, what it is they've been working on, how it's meant to look. Like, so far this season, I think you've had a real picture of clarity in terms of Arne Slot wants to win football matches, and this is how he's going to do it. For instance, I am a bit of a Quanta skeptic, as discussed earlier on. I think he ends up having a bit of an unfortunate day where he's almost stepping on rakes a little bit, but I actually think you can say, well, he plays quite well. My point is more, what I don't want to do is start to say, well, that player, because of this reason, on any of them really at this point. Maybe that's me being too nice. I just think you don't know quite what all the context is in terms of the prep.
Yes, that's true. I think it's a difficult balance, because I've had that same Kwanzaa argument with a few other people recently, whereas I think that it's harder to then say that this proves that he can't play. I think he's one of those players where I feel like at the moment where it's really obvious to see all of the bad things he does, and a lot of the good things he does kind of goes under the radar. But I think that's partly the nature of that position, where you're having to do something,
of course,
all the time.
Well, if your thing goes wrong, then you're going to concede.
Exactly. There's also that as well. But in the round, in terms of what you're saying about how you can't really judge people based on this, I think it's a really fundamental different thing, where everybody in the back of their mind knows we obviously want to win this game, but we don't have to win this game. It's a very different thing. And I also think the way that Slot went about it with this game kind of showed that as well. It felt a little bit unfair, to some of the players, because essentially that wasn't a league team, that was a cup team. Like, when you're making 6 changes, it's a cup team. So you can't really say, well, this is what they will be able to do in a league situation. I just think changing the entirety of the midfield in one go tells you all you need to know about how he felt about that game. It wasn't really like he can say, well...
to be clear about that, 2 players were getting the first league start.
Yeah, exactly.
In that midfield. Not only did you changing them all, 2 players were getting the first league start. Elliot and Endo.
Yeah.
Neither of them had started a league game.
Wow.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So, and if you're a manager and you really want to say, can Endo start for me in a really big Premier League game, then you're playing him with McAllister and Szoboszlai. If you're telling me if you want Elliot to see if Elliot can really do it, then you're playing him with McAllister and Gravenberg. Like you're giving them that platform. And to be honest, the fact that there's 4 games That would have been really easy to do. That would have been really easy to do.
I wonder on that, Mike, and this is the key question really for the rest of them. Like, I think that Brighton's a really good one to experiment in, to pick a strong team, but maybe go about it tactically a little bit differently. I think Palace is our final day party, and if we're lucky, it's the warm-up for next season's Charity Shield, and I think everyone could get into that and enjoy that. I think, and that'd also shift it in terms of the dynamic as well. It would just become a mass party at Anfield that day, and I think everyone would take that spirit. Arsenal, I think I actually want them to pick a strong team. I would love to get 91 points anyway from this stage, but Arsenal full stop. The gap is currently what the gap is. It's the same off the back of the weekend. I want them to pick a strong 11. I want it to be a proper game of football, at least from Liverpool's point of view. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, look, I'm in that position as well. I think the league's won and stuff, and it's fantastic. We lose every game, whatever, but I want to go and beat Arsenal because they are the ones that will more than likely finish second if they can pull the shoes up properly a bit. If Newcastle or City maybe get on a better run than them.
You're really coming with you with them, Mike. You couldn't be bothered with us 1 week in Newcastle or Newcastle the next week, could you? Jesus.
So it could be. I see it as a point that yes, let's go and prove that we know anyway. But I just like the whole footballing world to see that we've walloped Arsenal very handsomely. And Arsenal, it could be a long-lasting thing for them, as you say. And have they got Chelsea as well?
No,
they've got Newcastle.
They've got Newcastle and they've got Southampton last day. So there's Arsenal are going to finish in the Champions League places. I still think that they'll probably finish second, at worst third. But the truth of it is that it's just not a nice couple of weeks off the back of whatever happens in Paris.
No, and I would like that to be long, not just forget about that this season. I want that to be, because they're going to be up there next season. Let's up there or thereabouts. I would like that to then be in their minds coming into March and April next season. Whereas we got tonked at Liverpool, we lost at PSG, we thought we were in for such a good season, and it ends up tailing away again because they haven't won nothing for a while now, Arsenal. And I think the players as well will have this professional thing of we've been going week in, week out here. We've had a week off. Gravenberch and McAllister, Szoboszlai. I would be thinking as a player, I want to get on this pitch here now. It's at Anfield again. It's the first time we played back in front of our fans after being crowned the away end. Sounded incredible on the telly at Chelsea. People who I know who went said it was the best they've ever been to. And yet we'd lost 3-1.
It's good, but Jesus.
No, but it was just a party.
You won't have enjoyed getting beat 3-1, will you?
No, I didn't enjoy that. I got off lively, I can tell you that. I won't say exactly when. But I was in the boozer, nice and handy.
I bet you were. Yeah. I know you work.
Yeah. No idea what happened with that third goal.
Abi, with it, I think, going back to, I'm annoyed on the Champions League picture. I'm annoyed we've helped Chelsea a little bit by virtue of picking that team and it going the way in which it goes. Let's be clear, there's a period of time there where maybe, just maybe, that ends up a draw. I don't think it helps when you concede in the 3rd minute, having changed everybody in quite that way. I think Arsenal back at Anfield, I agree with Mike. I suspect the players themselves will be saying to the manager, no, you're picking me in this one if you don't mind, and we want to go and win this one.
I don't think it's just the players that'll be saying that, though. I think Slot also has the mindset of everyone all season's been saying Arsenal have got injuries, or the league's so weak, all these sorts of things, making out that, this title should have some sort of marker next to it as well to say this, it isn't really worth anything because of the quality in the league. Now Arsenal have got a lot of their players back fit. I think it's an opportunity for Slot to say, right, we're playing you now. We've already won the title. We can sort of take our foot off the gas if we wanted to, but we're not going to. We're going to play our strongest team here. You play your strongest team. You're still, they have got Champions League football, but at the end of the day, they could finish 4th. Arsenal are in a position where they might not finish 2nd.
Well, the result last weekend doesn't help them in this.
Exactly.
If they'd have won last weekend and then they were going to Paris, and whatever happens in Paris, and then he makes 7 changes.
Yeah.
You go, fair enough. Right now, they're not in a position to phone one in at Anfield in any way.
No.
Yeah, Arsenal have got to put a fight in sort of to avoid embarrassment, to be honest, to avoid making sure that you're still finishing 2nd, because if they're in a position where City end up finishing in 2nd, it's a little bit of a joke, isn't it? It's a little bit of a laughing stock. People will laugh at them because of that, and that'll be me included. So I think we're going to come out thinking, start your strongest midfield. At the end of the day, we're not going to see what we saw against Chelsea. When you play all those players together who've hardly had a start, you're not going to see proper quality there. And it's not fair to judge the likes of Elliott and Endo and that on that performance, because if you throw them in the midfield with maybe you have like Szoboszlai there or someone like that of quality from the first team, you put them in that regular first team, they're not going to have performances like that. They're going to still have that quality there. And I think we've seen it during like the FA Cup games and things like that, where when you just throw them together who don't consistently play together, it's not going to work. So I do think for this one, Slot's just going to go strong, because why not? We're not in any other competitions. We're out of the Champions League. We don't have to worry about anything else. You may as well all just go and have a nice run about. Feel 10 foot tall as you walk out from your guard of honour against Arsenal, and just, why not win that game? We have the quality there to beat them. Why not?
So there's a couple of things here. So far, Liverpool have beaten 17 of the other 19 teams in the league. We didn't beat Fulham here home away. Arsenal would be the 18th. I'd quite like to get up to that. So if people talk about the quality of the league, well, we literally beat everybody except Fulham. The other thing, talking about how bad it can get for Arsenal, they could finish fourth. Like Newcastle and City could overtake them. And then they finish fourth. And then what's even worse than that? Spurs could win a European trophy. Like you imagine...
Dream end.
Can you imagine that reality for Arsenal fans, Arsenal players, how much pressure they'd be on at the start of next season? And then they go into next season and they've got City away within the first 3 games and another really tough game. And they've only won 2 of the first 5 games, and people are talking about Arteta's job. It can snowball really, really quickly.
So we've got to beat them, yeah?
Yes.
We've got to beat them. It's going to be a very strange experience, sort of even getting up for it, quite frankly. The manager has clearly signalled with that Chelsea selection that absolutely none of this matters to us now. It just doesn't matter. I could get mildly irritated about it, but I'm not, as you said, Neil, I'm not allowing any negativity in because we've won the fucking league. I wanted to go and teach Chelsea a lesson on their own ground, put them in their place. But if we're going to make that many changes and we're going to have a totally new midfield, it was unlikely to happen. You can argue we did okay second half, etc., etc. So the Arsenal game, I very, very much want to win it. I hope we find ourselves in a moment where the crowd remember who we all are and we get up for it and we do them. And I hope they're really tired of getting legged all over the Parc de France in the week and we beat them. And it's sort of the season's last hurrah. But I'm not optimistic about that, quite frankly, because I think we're in a sort of extended pre-season, if you like, or brought forward pre-season, and nothing's going to change that now.
Okay, thank you very much indeed to Paddy for looking after all the images all the way through, Andy for looking after all the noises, Abigail, Mike, Rob and Mo for producing said noises. Expertly done, I felt, all the way through. It has been the Anfield Wrap this week. Obviously Trent Alexander-Arnold heavy, obviously Chelsea light. I'd have thought that you'd have understood that as you walked in. Hopefully that's all right by you as well. Remember everything we talked about all the way through the show in terms of Peloton and also Open Door and the Anfield Wrap itself and the Red Weekender and other matters arising as well. Anything that you want in there, that's what matters. Anyway, Liverpool Football Club, the Anfield Wrap. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. See you later.